I think you.
Hello, I'm Michelle Blitzovs.
I'm Marina.
And I'm Cathy.
Oh, wait,
today.
How do I talk? Welcome. It's so great to see you all. We're recording this at the end of a day. And you know, you'd think it was Friday the way we started, wouldn't you? But it's only Monday, people. It's only Monday and we're already feeling out of it for the week. Clearly it's here and we need a break.
Oh, we do. Well, today we mentioned it last time. We were actually going to talk about age and ageism and how that impacts our lives. And
is that a word, ageism?
Yes, it is a word, yeah, which is stereotypically, it's some sort of like prejudice and discrimination against people on the basis of their age, pretty similar to racism or sexism, but all to do with age.
That's
so,
right.
ladies.
So I had this example, right, with my mum. And this is what prompted me to say we need to cover this story. Okay. So my mum, who's beautiful, you know, she's older, right, than me, clearly, because I'm her daughter. Anyway, so we go to get our nails done after COVID, right? Remember when the first restriction ban lifted and we could go out and we could go back to beauticians, right? So I go to get my nails done, not these, but another sort of nails. And we go to the thing and, you know, mum's getting her feet done and I'm getting my fingers done. And the woman kept asking me what my mother wanted. I'm like, I don't know, ask my mother. Like, talk to her directly. Why are you talking to me and not her? Like, she can think for herself. She can talk for herself. She drives. She still works full time. Like, she's in the law. You know, she's a pretty smart woman. I think she can figure out what she'd like to do about her nails. But they kept talking to me. You know, have you come across it? Have you seen it happen?
I actually, it's funny. I've seen it quite a bit. It's almost like people forget they're there when they hit a certain age. And I follow this lady called Denise, who's a photographer. I think she's in Europe somewhere. And she does this Insta account called And Bloom, like it's and.bloom. And I think it was yesterday she did a post. It was all about this, which is really good. So I'm going to do a quick read. She's basically saying, after, you know, a woman, especially for women over 40 that are coping with self-conscious aging in a time where every wrinkle is seen as a failure, many women experience a feeling of becoming invisible when they get older. And so she's saying here, why women are increasingly treated as if they're invisible as they age apparently applies to women more than it does to men is very surprising, because we live in a youth-fixated culture where people are afraid to age and to be vulnerable to growing older, where the ideals about attractiveness are orientated around those with young, flawless and healthy bodies, you know.
Yeah. Are you saying I don't have a young, flawless and healthy body?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm owning it. You know? I'm just thinking we've got to own it. You know. Anyway, it's so true, because lately in the media there's been all sorts of stories, and one of the stories is, you know, why is it when men age they're seen as silver foxes? Like my Diego, he's hot. He's, you know, over a certain age. He's close to 50. And
what's old? Yeah, I have a friend who this week turned 60, a bloke. Turned 60, got his seniors card. It's so funny. Yeah. One of his staff made him up this great big seniors card. It's quite funny, posted on Facebook. But like, what's old these days? I mean, I don't think of my mum, who's in her early 70s, as old.
I agree with you.
Have you seen Grace and Frankie, right? Jane Fonda.
Oh, yeah, that's fantastic.
And she's still going. Like, that's not old. She doesn't look old at all.
Yes. Okay. I must admit, I do agree. That whole thing about your attitude. I remember when I was in my early 20s, I had two friends. One was mid-30s. The other one was closer to my age. And the one that was closer to my age, she was really, I'm trying to be really tactful here. She was just really old in her attitude. She was like super, whereas my older friend was so young. And at that point I went, you know what, this whole aging process has a lot to do with your mental attitude and to life, and you know, that fun attitude, is going to have a, you know, good time, I think contributes to you being young at heart. That's what it is. It's being young at heart. Your body can let you down, as you know. we can all that's true.
It's true.
Yeah.
It is so true. But that whole thing, why is it older men are seen as silver foxes, but females are tagged as old hags?
I don't know.
You know, or old bags. And it's that same thing that happened to your mum, Michelle. It's almost like older women become invisible, and we have to change that. We have to change the mindset. And something you said, Cathy, when it comes to staying young, you need a mind lift, not a facelift. Yeah. That's what they say. If you want to stay young, you need a mind lift and a facelift. So have any of you ladies come across ageism in the workplace, in your sectors?
Well, look, I work with men in my industry. The average age is 55, so they're not particularly young. But you know that I've just been in Queensland. I've been on a bit of a tour, visiting with all of my members because I run the association, and you know, a lot of them introduce themselves to me as older. You know, oh well, you know, I've only got a few more years left in me. I've only got a few more. I'm like, really? Like, these are guys that are 50, 55. And I don't think, as one who is nearly 50, that 50 is old. I really don't. Not anymore. I think we are living so much longer, and we have the health, you know, sector around us that is keeping us strong and healthy for longer. My family, the women in my family, lived to their late 90s. My grandmother was 96. My aunt is still going. Oh, my goodness. And, you know, she's in her 90s. And, yeah, I'm going to live to my 90s. So that means I've still got another 40 years ahead of me, at least.
Yeah.
50. So, you know, my life is not over because I'm halfway through it. I've still got so much more to do. And I want to turn around and tell these young people who look at, and then my kids don't think I'm old. And I think that's a mind thing. I think, Marina, as you said, you know, my attitude is quite young. I still feel quite young in my spirit. My body feels like it's 50, but my brain and my heart and, you know, everything doesn't feel like I'm nearly 50. I feel like I've got years ahead of me. And I came across this group recently called Half Time, and they actually work with people to mentor them and coach them.
Okay.
Once they approach that kind of 45 to 55 age group, to kind of help them find their next purposeful season of life. Because there is this thing about that midlife crisis that you get to, and you think there's nothing more for me. Like, it's up to the younger generation now, and let them run with it. But quite frankly, they don't know anything yet. We do.
Yeah, that's right.
We need to impart it to them. Well, and I just, you know, this, because I often see mums and their daughters and, you know, older people around, and there's so much we can learn from them. I mean, the horrific thing that's happening with COVID and the nursing homes and the aged care centres right now, it's really quite terrible. But older people have so much wisdom. They've seen so much more of life than we have, and we need to learn all we can from them. I have these amazing 86-year-old aunt and uncle, you know, and like the wisdom that they have. So what if she tells me the same story 3 times? I can still learn something from that.
Exactly. Exactly.
I love catching up and chatting to older people. I just find that in general, they have such wisdom, and you know, I mean, obviously you might get some grouchy people, but then that's not age related. You know, if you're a grouch, you're a grouch that day. But they just have this wealth of understanding, and I think sometimes they can be a lot more gracious because they've kind of seen so much. But coming back to what you were saying, Marina, I actually have never experienced someone having attitude to me because of my age. I did experience it when being a female, having attitude to being a female, where I'd be in a boardroom with a whole bunch of guys, and I would be putting forward an idea, and no one would hear, and then someone else would say exactly the same thing. I mean, this is going back a while now that I am in my 50s. I was in my 20s, and like the guy would say something, and they'd go, "Oh, that's a great idea," and I'd be like, "Are you kidding me? I just said that." And it was, I needed a louder voice. But yeah, I must admit, I haven't had that. But what I have noticed, and it comes back to, you reminded me of it just then, Michelle, was that when I'm exercising and I'm not carrying extra weight, because I am at the moment, my body, I move differently. I've got more energy. Whereas when I'm carrying extra weight, which I get out of bed and it's like, oh dear, I need a crane. But I just feel everything's like grinding to a halt. I'm just being honest, you know. So I just find that when I'm in a healthier physically, it does make a big difference to my mental attitude, you know. But as far as, I think though, I am pretty much a young at heart kind of person. You know, if I go out with my kids, they're usually telling me to behave, which is so fun. Yeah.
When did our children start becoming our parents?
Oh my gosh, I know.
Like my 19-year-old, she's always telling me off for something I'm doing.
Or to be quiet and don't say that. My son is notorious. He'll say, shh, mum, don't do that. And I'll say, whereas Courtney and I, we'll get in and we'll have a ball, you know. Whereas it's funny, Jeff and Ben, they'll sort of sit there like the two old fogies, you know, watching Courtney and I just have a bit of fun. But I think it's hysterical. I think it's really funny.
I think ultimately it comes down to, you just need to be yourself. And I think that society tries to push us into this mold of, oh, well, you're older now, it's time for you to pop off to greener pastures and, you know, like retirement. Retirement actually is just stopping that career. It's not the end of your life.
Yeah.
Not life is over because you're retired. No, you've just stopped doing that thing that was your career for all that time. And now actually you've got another 30 or 40 years to do whatever the next thing is. Isn't that right?
Whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
Well, it's funny.
I don't know.
It's funny, Michelle.
What is the average lifespan now? Because like more and more you see these people that are over 100. Like,
I'll Google it while Marina tells us her
thought. Do you want to Google it? Because it would be interesting. Because I go, okay, I'm now in my early 50s. I'm not telling you exactly, because otherwise I'd have to kill everybody, right? So I'm in my early 50s. So I kind of go, how much longer have I got? You know, I mean,
you got as long as you want. And I'm going to say something regarding retiring. I find people that I don't like the word retirement. When I think of the word retirement, I think of death. I don't know. Retirement, I'm going to retire you. I don't know. I watch too many spy movies, you know, but, and on that level of retirement, whenever I look at retirement ads that, you know, you see, they always say over 55.
I know.
I'm like, over 55, I'm early 50s as well. And on the early 50 side, but I'm thinking I'm still going to be doing stuff. I'm not going to retire. Why do I want to go to a retirement village at 55? And I'm just thinking they need to remove that. They need to make it another decade, at least to 70, you know?
Yeah, but you now can't retire from the workforce until you're 68. So
yeah, there you go. That's when they should kind of promote those retirement villages. Yeah. But going back to the topic of ageism, I've got some friends who are, you know, over 50 that are out of work, and they're very skilled, incredible skills, can do so many things, and they don't put their age on their resumes for fear that they're going to be discriminated against. And that's, you know, and that's unfortunately the way it is. You know, people are always looking for people that are younger because it's a little bit more affordable to employ them. But the thing is, there's so much that the older generation, whether it's over 40, over 50, over 60, they can offer. And it's not always about money. When people get older, they want to do something. My mum was saying to me, she's 82. She said, what's the point of staying at home waiting to die? She said, I'd rather go out, catch up with friends, have coffee, you know, have some fun. And sometimes mum and her friend, they will catch the train from the South Coast all the way to Sydney Airport, sit at the airport and have a coffee and pretend they're going on holidays just to watch the planes because they want to feel young. They don't want to feel old. And on that note, you know, there's pros and cons about age. Like the cons, everyone knows: wrinkles, physical strength, health, hot flushes. But there's so many pros to getting old. You know, one of them is you have a sense of who you are. You know who you are. You've got more experience under your belt.
You're more confident.
Exactly. There's less social
Hopefully,
anxiety.
You're more confident.
Hopefully,
not
that's
everybody
right.
is.
Actually, can I just ask Marina that I found that really fascinating what you said, because I do remember, it's coming back to the age on the CV, because I do remember when in my day, in my 20s, you would put your age.
Yes.
So do either of you
I've never put my age on my CV because I was in management quite young. And so I already, was sort of, I had my first job for the first 15 years. So I've never actually put my age on my CV.
Yeah. Did you, Marina? Because I would.
When I was younger, I did. But as I've gotten older, I didn't. But however, I've been running my own business for quite some time now.
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't matter. My advice to anybody out there is don't put your age on your CV. It doesn't matter how old you are.
Well, no, but it used to be a thing that you did, but now it's you don't. I wonder if it's been brought in because let's face it, our society, the whole age of discrimination of sex, gender, that has become a lot more profiled, I suppose, is the poor way of putting it, but discrimination's we're becoming a lot more aware of different ways of discriminating, so it's probably on par with that perhaps.
So the average age in Australia, the average life expectancy is 82.5.
Okay.
And hang on, for female
than those POMs over there. Kath, are you allowed to say POMs anymore? I don't know. And also the Yanks, the US. So we live longer than both those countries. It's interesting to know.
Can I ask, male or female lives longer?
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to scroll down for that. But here's something else that's really interesting. Yep. Apparently, we give birth to 1.96 children. How do you give birth to a 0.96? But anyway.
Missing a foot maybe or
that's
something.
Just
I don't
the average
know.
there. I don't know about men or women. It doesn't say on this particular site that I'm on. Sorry.
Because don't they say men die like younger than women? Because we just
generally
death.
the information that's out there is saying that men die earlier than women, and
there's a study here from ANU that said that men 74.1 is their average age and women 78.8, which doesn't equal the 82.1 that we saw before. So who knows?
No,
the point is you're going to live as long as you're going to live, and any of us could die tomorrow. So make the most of your life, every single step of your life, every single season, and don't put yourself down like we put dogs down before your time. I mean, if you're going to live to 85, live.
Seize the day.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, do you know on that after 50, there's all these studies. They've proven that as people age, they're generally happier with their lives because of the positive things. Even if their health is not well, they're still happier because they're noticing the positivity. It's like, or as people age, they look through rose-colored glasses and they forget about the negative and they focus on the good stuff, which is really good. And the good news is, in today's world, if you are worried about things like wrinkles, there's things like Dysport or Botox. You get that? If you're worried about physical strength,
I reckon
doing weights.
I reckon they get happy as they get older because the kids have left.
Oh, exactly.
Peace and quiet. There's food in the fridge.
But you learn to appreciate. You learn to appreciate what matters in life, and I think when you're younger, you don't actually know what matters and what's important. You haven't worked it out yet. But as you get older, you learn to know what matters the most. And so, time with my kids, time with my husband, I love my job, but work isn't the be all and end all. And if they fired me tomorrow, it wouldn't matter. Not that they would, but if they did, it wouldn't matter because work is not my life. And I think when you're younger, you think work is your life, but it's really not. And so the older you get, the more things you appreciate. You appreciate every minute of every day, every hour, because also I think the older you get, the more you see people die around you. And I know,
that's right.
My mum is seeing all her friends and they sort of, and you're like, well, who's left? And I think that's really sad. And but it's a fact of life. I mean, this is breaking news. We're
Yes.
all going to die.
Yes.
Exactly. Do you know death is a great equalizer because
Yeah.
it makes you aware that, you know, our life is short, and to do the things that you want to do. Don't give up on your dreams, no matter how old you are. You know, Morgan Freeman didn't start acting until he was 50. And there are some incredible...
Really?
Maybe I could try that. I'm nearly 50.
Yeah, he didn't start acting till he was 50. And there are so many incredible people in the older generation, and I'm talking about older, in their 70s and 80s, that are doing some incredible things with their lives, and they're not giving up. There's a lady, Iris Apfel. She's known as a stylist, and she's the old lady with the big giant round glasses, you know, the dark rims, and she dresses really eclectic with all her big... Yeah, she's an American. Her husband died at 100. He made it just over 100, and she's in her late 90s, and she's a force to be reckoned with. You know, she's doing some amazing things in her field, and that's why I think, you know, there's so much that I want to do. And sometimes we may not always, as younger people, I still see us as young, get to do everything we want to do, and it may happen for us later in life. My thing is, we shouldn't give up on that. And I want to mention a quote. Mark Twain said, "Age can be an issue of the mind if you let it. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter." You know, so that's, you know, I think I love, sorry, I'm always throwing in quotes and stuff like that, but I love stuff like that because it makes you think about life in general. And as we mentioned, when you lose someone close, whether it's your parents or a sibling or an uncle or an aunt or a grandparent, you realize what is important. It's not always about work, like you said, Michelle. It's about the people around you. But I believe we've got an opportunity. Just because we're, you know, over 40 doesn't mean that our life is over. You know, we've got an opportunity to change the way people think of age. There are so many incredible people out there that are much older than their 20s, but I'm not, ageism can go the other way for younger people.
It can.
We're talking about, as you know, middle-aged women.
That's right.
But there are, you know.
Yeah, when I was 25, I had the opportunity to become a manager, a general manager, but I was seen as too young to hold that role. I wasn't. So they hired a bloke in who was older, in his 40s, to take the role. Well, he couldn't cut it. He couldn't really hack it, you know. And so, you know, that is the case. That is the case that, and I had to wait, I think I was about 28 before I actually got the role. So I had to wait another 3 years to be seen as old enough to take on this role. I mean, if you've got the wits, you've got the capacity, you've got the intelligence, you can do the job, do it. It doesn't actually matter how old you are. And so ageism does go both ways. I mean, I think the point for me and the takeaway is that, you know, live whatever age you are and treat all humans as valuable regardless of their age. That's mine.
Yeah, and it's not the years in your life that counts, you know. It's the life in your years. That's from Abraham Lincoln. You know, he said it's not the years in your life that count, it's the life in your years. And for me, I would say, going on the other end of the spectrum towards our age and over, the takeaway for me is aging is a privilege. It is. It's a privilege. We need to embrace it. Yeah. Why shy away from it? Why hide who we are?
I love that.
Live your best life now.
Exactly.
Every day. Live your best life.
Absolutely. I love that.
Great. Yeah. Well, that's our encouragement to you this week, right? Live your best life. Go out there, make it happen. Treat everybody as individuals, regardless of where you are. And if you're older or you're younger, just do whatever it is that's on your heart to do. Hey? Yeah. All righty. Catch you next week.